Bob Graybill, President and CEO of FMS. FMS is a servicing provider and IT provider to the independent grocery industry throughout North America and Northern South America. We also have offices in India and Central Asia. FMS was originally founded in 1974 by a gentleman named John Schock. And he started the company out of a need where the wholesaler was providing these services and people liked the confidentiality of not having their wholesaler who they were negotiating contracts with knowing what their bottom line was. It was in 2000 that we had started the ESOP. We had gone through that process primarily as a tool to buy John out. And we recently, within the last year, converted that ESOP back to a privately held company. All of our senior management team came from the grocery industry. I've worked in a grocery store since I was a meat cutter for a little independent here in Baltimore. I guess they didn't care about labor laws at that time, but I was underage working the bandsaw. I have worked everything from the front end, deli, bakery, meat, accounting, buyer, warehouse manager, director of pricing. So I've seen kind of the industry, so have my counterparts, the four of us on the leadership team. So we know the business, we try and hire from within the industry. So when you call us, we're not trying to understand your business. We know your business. Now it's how do we help you with your business? And that's really caused the growth. Our company already serves some pretty large businesses. C&S Wholesaler, which is a national company, is a client of ours. We've got clients that have hundreds of stores in the Midwest, like Coborn's and those guys. And they go by different banners because everybody has their corporate name and then the banner on their store. But that marketplace is, I will say, a lot more interesting to the extent that the independent that has 10 or 20 stores that might be doing $400 million a year in sales, and those numbers sound large for that size company, but with a 1% to 2% bottom line, if you're not doing 7 to 10 million in a store, you're struggling. So that marketplace is one that we need to get into eventually, but when we look at our market saturation in certain parts of the country in Canada, our focus still is on the independent. Our customers typically have about 25% less back office support than non-customers. And the infrastructure on the IT side, because of the hosting and the models that we use, are a lot cheaper than other service providers. So we very much recognize grocery as a limited margin business, and it's actually provided a competitive edge for us because a lot of our larger competitors in the marketplace are going in at a lot higher cost, and because we're dealing with one specific industry, it has a lower overhead cost for us and allows us to be more competitive for a company that's making a penny and a half on the dollar. A lot of our retailers have online and home delivery. However, on the other side of the picture is Amazon, and Amazon is basically being named the next Walmart for the grocery industry. Now, a positive side of that, one of our customers very recently in the New York City market, D'Agostino's, actually teamed with Amazon for their home delivery service. So in the larger cities, Amazon's finding it easier to work with an existing partner rather than setting up an infrastructure like they have here in Baltimore. So it could be a plus or a minus for us in the future. Most important trend is consolidation. We're seeing a lot of acquisitions and large acquisitions. For us, it has some pros and cons. Albertsons recently acquired Safeway. The FTC got involved and forced the spin-off of stores in certain markets, which independents then picked up, which we then picked up that service for those stores. We've looked and we're slowly starting to make some transition in some of our service offerings because we realize that the private equity companies are getting very heavy into grocery with these acquisitions. And what's going to happen for us is we've got to basically create a niche to service them as they do their purchase, their startup, and then they do their spin-off to make their capital back. We, in the last few years, have basically expanded internationally 6 years ago. And that has been probably one of the most interesting parts of the business. Here in the US, we have large frozen food sections, we have large prepared foods that are prepackaged. When you go into other countries, especially in South America, the frozen food aisle essentially is set up for the expats, more or less. Liquid detergent is not used very heavily, whereas powder still is. So you learn a lot of things, and even though we're providing the accounting and the technology, we're also looking at the operational results and providing input of store operations. In 5 years, I hope we are not only saturated in North America, but that we've entered Australia. We are working on something in South America currently, which is going to open up a pretty significant market share for us down there. So I hope to be in 3 continents.
Thank you.